Hey friends! Today we're diving into a really special flower, the Protea, also known as the King Protea or sometimes even the flower of kings. We're going to sketch it, line it, and bring it to life with color, all using TOUCH hardtip markers. Let's get started. Sketching the Protea flower. I usually like to start with the silhouette. For the Protea, I always think it kind of looks like a wine glass. So, I begin with the shape of a goblet. It gives a great base to build on. Once that's in, I start adding some leaves. They're kind of long and oval-shaped, and the way they're arranged is pretty similar to the flower's bracts, layered and fanned out. Though, in a lot of floral arrangements, the outer leaves are trimmed back for a cleaner look. Now for the tricky part, the top edge of the wine glass, where all the bracts begin. If you're not sure how to shape them, here's a fun trick. Just imagine you've cut the rim of a paper cup with scissors into random little chunks. That irregular, uneven edge gives you a great guide for drawing bracts with different shapes and sizes. Some types of Proteas have really pointy bracts, while others are softer and curled at the tips. I keep layering those bracts downward, one row at a time, making sure not to line them up perfectly. Offsetting them slightly gives the whole flower a more natural, dynamic feel. As we get closer to the base, the bracts get smaller. Some of them haven't even opened yet. For the far side of the flower, I add bracts that curl inward, giving a bit of that tucked-in shape. Next is the flower center, that little cluster in the middle. It's actually the real flower part. The rest is just structure and protection. You don't need to go super detailed here, just define the general shape and add a few lines for texture. Fun fact, there are around 136 species of Protea, with all kinds of sizes, shapes, and colors. Inking the sketch. For inking, I use a Copic 0.3 wine-colored liner because it's waterproof and won't bleed with alcohol markers. Sometimes I use a mechanical pencil for lining too. It doesn't smudge with markers either, but it can be a little light and hard to see under darker colors. In the flower center, I add a few loose diamond-like shapes to show texture, but I don't fill it in too much. It's meant to stay light and airy. A little trivia for you. Proteas are often called living fossils. Some can live up to 100 years, and the flowers can last half a year. How cool is that? Now for the leaves, I recommend switching to a different color liner so you don't confuse them with the bracts when coloring. If you use the same color, they might blend together since their shapes are super similar. Here's something interesting. Proteas can be male or female, and they're sometimes named like royalty. The king, duke, and baron types of bold, flat, fully open flowers. Think lotus flower energy. The queen, princess, or lady types are more slender and modest, with bracts that stay half-closed. They often have soft, colorful hairs, especially around the center. And the one I'm drawing here? She's a lady, a female Protea cherry blossom. At this stage, I thicken the lines at overlapping points, and if I have time, I go over the whole outer contour again, but full honesty, I skip that part this time, grinning face with sweat. And don't you think the Protea looks a little like the lotus lantern from Chinese mythology? Just me? Coloring the Protea. Let's start with a base layer. Proteas often come in white, cream, yellow, pink, and deep red tones. Start light, and add more layers where shadows fall. Especially on the inside of the cup, where colors are richer and deeper. It helps to think about shading like painting a wine glass, darker on the inside, lighter on the outside. Use the same color family to layer and deepen shadows. Since we're drawing a female Protea, there's usually fine fuzzy textures on both the bracts and the flower center. So be sure to leave some edges uncolored to show that softness. I added a bit of purple to the flower center to make it pop. And a touch of deep violet in the shadows for richness. Then I went in with a bold red to color the inner cup. Highlight the bract tips with a little more detail. Different Protea species have unique features here, so feel free to have fun with it. Then I blended in some pinks You can also go darker inside the cup to boost contrast. Higher saturation inside and softer on the outside. My go-to combo here was Touch 291 for high saturation and a dark purple to lower the brightness. And a hint of orange or yellow to warm things up. I kept adjusting the shadows in areas where bracts overlap or fold. This helps with depth. To finish up, I used a zero blender to lighten some edges, especially to mimic the look of white fuzzy bract tips. And here's a tip. If you want to add texture, use white colored pencil to draw some soft hairs or outline the edges. I love the Holbein OP501 white pencil. It has a really soft, semi-wet watercolor-like finish. Just a heads up though, it needs to be sharpened manually, no pencil sharpeners allowed. Final tips. Here are some key takeaways. 1. Male Proteas can be drawn like a big open bowl, kind of like a lotus. 2. Female Proteas look more like a wine glass, tall, elegant, and slightly closed. 3. When coloring, always build from general light/shadow to specific bracts and details. 4. Not sure where to begin? Use real flower references. With practice, you'll be able to create freely from your imagination to hearts. Let me know in the comments, would you try drawing a male Protea next? Or maybe a whole bouquet?